Welcome to the Thrive, Make Money Matter podcast. I am your host, Cole Hatter. On this podcast, I will share the best lessons delivered at the Thrive Conference live from speakers who happen to be 40 of the top business leaders and thought leaders in the world. If you are unfamiliar with my event, it was voted the #1 must-attend business conference for entrepreneurs and career professionals by several publications, including Inc., Entrepreneur, and Forbes. The episodes are quick, high-content, actionable steps to show you how to thrive in business and in life. If you're ready to go to the next level, this podcast was made for you. Enjoy. What's up, everybody? It's Cole. Welcome back to another episode of the Thrive, Make Money Matter podcast. In this episode, I'm bringing in my homeboy, Grant Cardone, Uncle G, up in the house. I had the opportunity to meet Grant last October for the first time in person. I actually caught the red-eye flight from LAX airport all the way to Miami, left LAX at 11:50 p.m., landed in Miami at 8 a.m. What was actually really cool is I stayed in first class, and we're talking proper first class. There's like domestic, first class where the seats are a little wider and you get dinner and that's it. This thing was a full-blown pod that had an automatic door that shut. I laid 100% flat, so if you have the means, I highly recommend catching these red-eye flights, booking the first class ticket, because guess what happened? I woke up, I slept the whole flight, I woke up, and I was ready to go. I went to the Admirals Club there for American Airlines. I wouldn't use United, they would have dragged me off as of recording this video if you guys saw that whole saga. But anyway, took a shower, and I was at Grant's office by 9 a.m., and I recorded one of the episodes that he does live on his YouTube channel at 10 a.m. And we actually really hit it off. We became great friends. And then he actually came and spoke to Thrive as well, which is why I'm bringing him up. Now, in this next segment, this was at Thrive 2, where Grant spoke. He said a lot of things, and what he's talking about right now are entrepreneurs versus solopreneurs. He asked the audience, and you'll see this, how many of you here are entrepreneurs, how many of you are solopreneurs, and he says, stop it, do not be a solopreneur. And then he goes on to mention some of the biggest names in history of why they didn't do it on their own, of why they had a team, and then he gives away 3 tips that every successful person that you actually talk about. He says, I'm sure there were some successful people that nobody ever knew, but the ones that you actually talk about all did 3 things. So enjoy this episode, watch Uncle G deliver, and make sure you make a note on what those 3 things are.
Entrepreneurs, how many entrepreneurs in the room? Good. How many solopreneurs in the room? Well, you got to stop that. You got to stop doing the solopreneur thing. I mean, people run around, I'm a solopreneur. You bragging or complaining? You understand, you can't be a solopreneur and continue to survive. It's impossible. There is no existence for 2,000 years of any human being that existed by themselves and was successful. We don't know their name, okay? The people that you know, going back to Jesus, you name it, all the way, all the great people, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the people that you and I could sit down over dinner and say, you know this person? Yeah, I know Jesus. You know Steve Jobs? Yeah, I know that guy. Bill Gates? Yeah, I know that guy. Mahatma Gandhi? Yeah, I know that guy. Any of those great names. Jack Canfield's in the room. Everybody knows Jack. Give Jack a big hand. Okay? You know these people. You know what? 3 reasons you know these people. Number 1, they communicate. Number 2, they got attention. And number 3, they were obsessed.
So Grant says that if any major iconic person in history, from Jesus to Gandhi to Steve Jobs, none of them did it on their own. They all had a team. And he says that they all did 3 things. They communicated, they got attention, and they were obsessed. And that's one of the reasons I hired Lewis Howes, which I talk about on one of the episodes here in this podcast, is I actually hired Lewis Howes to build a personal brand because, again, I was having tremendous success. I was in the 7-figure club. As a solopreneur, I didn't have an Instagram, I didn't have a Twitter, and I had a private Facebook that nobody could friend request me. Like, it was totally private with like 400 friends that were just family members, because I was like, why would I want friends that I don't even know? I had no idea what social media was for. So here I am working from home, crushing it, bringing in 7 figures. Nobody knew who I was and nobody cared. And what I realized pretty quickly, and what you're going to want to know, is that as I grew as an entrepreneur and my network grew, I saw how many people like Grant Cardone, like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Ty Lopez, like Lewis Howes, how much money they made and how much opportunity they were given by building huge followings and huge brands. And so when Grant Cardone talks about how they communicated, they got attention, and they were obsessed, Everybody he mentioned are great examples. Jesus Christ. Whether you believe in Christianity or believe in Jesus or not, there's a great book to read called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino, which follows a life of Jesus, not in a religious way, which is trying to convert you or whatever, right? And you have a right to have your own beliefs, but it talks about, from a sales perspective, how Jesus was so influential and why the entire world listened, and then a religion came after him, right? And so when it comes to, number one, communicating, that was a great example, all the way through to Grant Cardone himself. The guy has millions and millions of followers. It's because he's loud. He makes a lot of noise. Gary Vaynerchuk is probably one of the loudest people out there right now on social media. And by loud, I'm talking about the frequency of content being put out and the enthusiasm behind it. I haven't seen a video of Gary Vaynerchuk sipping tea with his pinky out saying, "Oh, hello, everybody. Just having a tea here." He's always like freaking hitting his hand in his fist, yelling at the camera because he's passionate. The more noise he makes, the more attention he gets, and he is obsessed. So for any of you in here who might be like me, who are having tremendous success, but nobody knows who you are and nobody cares, or if you're just getting started and have no yet success on your own and are looking to break into entrepreneurship, in today's economy, in 2017 and for the foreseeable future, human capital is almost more important than actual currency capital is, if that makes sense. How many followers you have, how many people you have on your email list is almost more important to how many dollars you have in your bank account. And I've seen time and time and time again, these big influencers online have tremendous opportunities brought to them that turn into 7 or even 8 or even 9-figure opportunities. And that's because, number one, they communicate, they're loud, they're shouting out to the world. Number two, they're getting attention, they're not boring, they're actually successful, they're actually doing things that are interesting. And then number three, they're obsessed about it. So this is some of the greatest advice that Grant Cardone just gave for anybody. And again, this isn't a fluke. This dates all the way back to the time of Jesus, right? As he uses in the video that you just saw, or if you tune in on the podcast, the audio clip you just heard, all the way back 2,000 years ago, right? So here's the point. Evaluate where you're at right now. And if you're like me, where you opposed social media and you literally hide almost from the world on purpose, you gotta stop that. You gotta grow. I've been in this quote unquote growth period of being comfortable of putting my stuff out there, and to be completely transparent, I'm not that great at it. My team, who are standing here behind this camera, are literally forcing me to do stuff like this, to put this podcast out there, because I do make millions of dollars. I have a lot of things to share with the world, and I almost feel arrogant being like, "Hey, everybody, listen to me." But my team, who are here behind my cameras again, and my wife and my family and the Thrive Tribe, the members of the Thrive community, are saying, "No, dude, like, you're doing us a disservice by not sharing at least your thoughts or the thoughts of the people you get to spend time with, like Grant Cardone, with the world." So I totally get it. If you're that person that's like I used to be, where you're like, "I don't want Facebook, I don't want Twitter, all that." I'm just gonna tell you one thing. Get over it. Get out of your comfort zone. Hire a coach like I did. I literally hired Lewis Howes. And no offense to Lewis, when I hired him, I was making 10 times more money than he was. We talked about that. So it's not like I hired him to teach me how to make money. I hired him to teach me how to become a personal brand. So if you don't know what you're doing, find someone out there who's done a good job, see if they have a course or some way to do that. But again, having human collateral, having people and followers in the economy that we're in right now is literally almost more important than anything else. Go out there, do that, enjoy. And then like Grant said, as far as being a solopreneur versus an entrepreneur, make sure you've got an awesome team. I did the solopreneur thing for like 7 years. I've done the entrepreneur thing now for like 5 years. And I'll tell you what, not knocking the solopreneurs out there, but life gets easier when you learn how to scale a business and outsource some of the responsibilities. When I wore all the hats, it was tough, man. I was working 7 days a week, 10 to 12-hour days, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Now I'm not wearing all the hats. Now I'm not working 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, and I'm making 7 figures a year. So not only has my income gone up, so has my lifestyle. And if I could do a humble brag real quick, I take my daughter to school, I pick my daughter up, I eat breakfast with my family every single day. I put both my daughters to sleep every single night. We take vacations at least once a month for days at a time, if not weeks. And so people who follow my Snapchat, my social media, one of the most common questions I get from people is, "Do you even work?" Yes, I do work, and I'm making more money right now than I ever have. And it's because I didn't stick with the solopreneur route. I went with the entrepreneur route and one step at a time learned how to release responsibilities to an amazing team who supports me. Again, the reason that you're hearing this podcast today, I'll give a quick shout out, is because my man Logan here is behind the camera. For those of you watching this on YouTube, if you're seeing this right now, hello YouTube, Logan did that. And if you're hearing this right now, Chris did that. Chris Mueller, my executive assistant, is in charge of all things podcast. So if you're a listener, thanks Chris. If you're a viewer, thanks Logan. And all the other team that's not a part of the podcast that are here supporting me. I wouldn't be where I am. So it's like I just won an Oscar. Thank you to my team. Appreciate it. High five. Look, Chris's arm just made it on camera. So did Logan's. Appreciate you guys watching. Leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube right now on your thoughts on what Grant just shared. Again, they got to communicate. They get attention. They're obsessed. Maybe share a story about when you were a solopreneur becoming an entrepreneur, if that worked out well for you. And for those of you listening on iTunes or via a podcast, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please rate, review the show, and share it with a friend. We want to get this message out to as many people as we can. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.